Hello all and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Welsh and today we're going to be taking a peek at the new video going over the new video previewing the Player's Handbook Playtest number 6 on the official Dungeons & Dragons YouTube channel. I have not seen this video yet, so it looks like it's going to be about 8 minutes 34 seconds, and then I'll have commentary interspersed. So let's go ahead and jump right into it and see what everything's going on with this new packet. All right.
Hello everyone, today we're talking about Unearthed Arcana, the Playtest 6 for the Player's Handbook. What you're watching right now is the overview video. Tomorrow we will release all of the videos going into all the classes and some more specifics as...
Okay, so there are going to be confirmed multiple classes in this. We've actually seen several of them in previous packages, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do to change those based on the surveys and feedback that's been given.
To what is in the Unearthed Arcana. This is the biggest one so far, right?
Right. The previous Unearthed...
Why? Okay, so we're only 23 seconds in, and that's... They're giving us the information that Playtest Packet 6 is going to be their largest one yet, which on one hand I'm all for because I like to read through this stuff and hey, it's more content. But on the flip side, Playtest Packet 5, let's just pull it up right here, is 50 pages long. I mean, it feels longer than that, but it is. But nonetheless, this Playtest packet has... I feel like there's been one since then. Nope. Okay, so let's... Okay, so let's go ahead and pull it up here. Playtest Packet 5 is 50 pages, which is a rather sizable one, so this next one's going to be significantly bigger. That kind of makes me hesitate a little bit just because, one, they're going to be fitting multiple classes into it. I'm sure there's going to be some other new stuff as well, but just in terms of being able to digest all of it and see what new mechanics and game mechanical technology is going to be in this, I wonder kind of what they're going to be looking for as far as feedback. As I'm presuming we're probably going to get to see the monk, because that's the only class that hasn't been officially gone through for the 2024 revision to the Player's Handbook. Since, I mean, we haven't seen the Artificer, but they're only doing the base 12 classes in this revision. So here, let's go ahead and move forward a bit from the 23-second mark and see what these guys have to say, because maybe they'll clear up what else is going to be into it.
Unearthed Arcana was the biggest Unearthed Arcana ever. This Unearthed Arcana now takes that crown and is now the new biggest Unearthed Arcana we have
got
ever
it. It's
done.
big. Okay.
And in addition to 7 classes.
7 classes in this. Okay. So over here we've got Bard. We have the expert classes here, which that's going to be the Bard, the Ranger, the Rogue. Then we have Cleric, and another revision on the species. Thought I had reset that one for sizing. So we've seen every class appear in the Unearthed Arcana since they started doing this sequence. So 7 classes. I'm going to bet we're going to see a revision on all of the experts. So that would be our Bard, our Ranger, and our Rogue. I'm betting you money we're going to see the Monk for the first time. And then I would... So Bard, Monk, Ranger, Rogue. Would Druid and Paladin work? Actually, Cleric, Druid, and Paladin. Bard, Monk, Ranger, Rogue. Cleric, Druid, Paladin. That's 7. So basically, it seems like if my math and my estimations are right, we're going to see a revision to all of the classes from Unearthed Arcanas 2, 3, and 4 outside of. So basically, everything but 5. We're going to get to see a revision to those. Okay. Plus the monk.
There are also revised spells.
Cool.
There's even a brand new spell. There are brand new subclasses.
Okay. That's going to be an interesting point there. Brand new spell. Now, is this going to be kind of built into a class feature like they did with, like they're doing with the revamp to Warlock with Eldritch Blast, or is it a new spell in the way of the Sorcerer's Chaos Bursts, or not Chaos Bursts, Sorceress Bursts? Like the Sorcerer got 3 new spells. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. But is it going to be something like that, where like the Bard gets its own? Actually, Vicious Mockery, like the idea of that should be just a Bard only spell, but is it going to be another thing like that, or is this going to be added to your Arcane, Divine, your Primal spell lists for other classes to pick up, and would therefore work backwards with Playtest Packet 5 here and seeing with like the Wizard and such. So that's going to be interesting to see. Just new spell in general.
Because also for the first time in the playtest
And they also
series,
said new subclasses.
the classes that appear here all have multiple subclasses now. And so some of those subclasses are revisions of beloved subclasses from 2014.
Right.
And in a few cases, we are introducing entirely new subclasses. This
Okay. That's cool. I mean, it's a D&D product. D&D is a game that's kind of seems like it's fundamentally about character creation, which is why all of these Unearthed Arcanas are all on that instead of crunchy new mechanics and things that you can do, like variant inspirations, or that's probably a terrible example, but so we're going to get brand new subclasses. That's expected with basically every D&D book. However, it is also said that the Player's Handbook 2024 revision is only going to have 4 subclasses per class. So that makes me wonder, are they... I know they were saying they're going to draw from Xanathar's, they're going to draw from Tasha's, and they're going to draw from the 2014 Player's Handbook. So they're also going to just be introducing new ones as well. And okay, I'm fine with that. I'm down with that. Thing I have to wonder about though first is, are they just doing this so that we can see the revisions to their previous ones, so we can see revisions to how they handle it into the 2014 Player's Handbook, like Twilight Cleric? If we're actually getting the cleric as a class, are we going to see like a Twilight Domain subclass and see how they would completely refix that one, since it is a little bit busted with its level 1 ability? I know they are pushing things to standardization of 3rd level, but we're going to have to see. The document's not out yet. But new subclasses, okay, and we're also going to get some remastered ones from previous. So that means we're going to have more points to compare and understand what the new balance meta is going to be for the 2024 revision. Cool.
This is the first Unearthed Arcana in the series that represents a lot of refinement based on the playtest feedback that we've been receiving previously in the series.
Okay.
You and I talked...
Wait, I mean, we pulled up the cleric and species here, so okay. 3 revised species appear in this document: the Ardling, Dragonborn, and Goliath. Dragonborn and Goliath were part of Playtest Packet 1, if I believe. So I don't know. Maybe that's just nitpicky, but okay. So we're gonna see major class reworks. Fine.
in a previous video about this UA really representing the start of a new chapter in this series, because now we're really focusing on refining those things that are going to end up in the 2024 version of the Player's Handbook. And you're going to see here the return of some features from 2014 that might have been absent in earlier versions of.
That makes me think that Warlock might be included in here because Pact Magic. Curious.
Of this playtest material. They're going to see brand new features inspired by the playtest feedback we've received. So
As
there
you
is
should.
a lot to ingest here. Weapon mastery is now
So we're going to get more martials.
in this Unearthed Arcana. We introduced that in the previous one. It was a huge hit. We now have the scores from the most recent playtest survey, and weapon mastery is here to stay. We will be refining it. We'll be digging into the.
Okay, so that's cool. That's good to know. So okay, so we're going to be seeing, are we going to be seeing revisions from Playtest Packet 5, the one that was just released? Because that had the majority of our martials in it. That had our barbarian, it had our fighter. So I mean, the only other martials that we don't have are what they're calling the ranger and rogue as experts, and then the monk. So is the monk going to have weapon mastery as a key feature? Is that what he's saying right here?
The details of some of those options. But now that we've seen that this feature is beloved, it.
Okay. I'm sorry, pedantic English nerd in me. The feature hasn't really been released yet. It's in playtest. We can say that people like it, but until we actually get like more time playtesting it, it's hard to say it's beloved. Like, I'm working on designing my own game, but I'm not going to say the beloved ability of the speaker or the warden, like, because I've just previewed it to a couple people, and while the response has been positive, that's not. I mean, they're doing this on a larger scale. I get it, and it sounds like they got strong feedback on weapon mastery, saying that, hey, this is a good way to improve your martials. I agree, but it's not beloved. It's new, and it was responded with positively. I'm sorry, pedantic English major, stepping back for a second.
Now appears in additional classes. You're going to see it in this Unearthed Arcana in the rogue, the ranger, the paladin.
Okay, so that's confirmation there that we're getting the rogue, ranger, and paladin in this.
The monk.
And we're getting the monk.
And now those classes get to have new tactical experiences because of the introduction of weapon master.
Okay, sorry, I paused it there for a second earlier. Okay, so this brings up one of the things that I find really frustrating about D&D is that weapon mastery is really good in a rather limited regard. It's a really cool thing that fighters get, and then your martials will get in limited capacities elsewhere. But the more that you make it a ubiquitous feature like spellcasting, the more it becomes kind of toned down and its impact is weakened. It becomes less of a, hey, this is a cool thing that the fighter can do, to, hey, this is something that everyone can do with training. I mean, they said that they're going to be introducing it with feats, and so you can do some of the weapon mastery sorts of stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this, especially given how spellcasting is in the 2014 handbook, where it's the exact same essentially for every class. I mean, people in the comments will come at me because technically about preparing and all that, but like it's 100% accurate. It is, you expend the spell slot, you get the spell effect, and you can upcast and whatnot. You don't have, the mechanics are fundamentally similar across the board, to the point of being a ubiquitous feature. So if weapon mastery is going to be the same, what's going to make the fighter class unique going forward? Is it going to get different fighting styles? I mean, because fighting styles would kind of be how I would want to approach this. Fighting styles being the sort of ubiquitous fighting sense that would go between your ranger, your rogue, your paladin, your monk, your barbarian, etc. And then weapon mastery is sort of the upgraded version of that, where you get all of your glances, your pierces, your cleaves, your whatnot. And so perhaps if it's put into a lot of other classes at a limited capacity, that's going to keep its uniqueness primarily on the martials, and primarily on the fighter as well. Because if it just becomes a ubiquitous feature, that's not improving the fighter. It's just keeping the fighter as the base level entry class and just making it a little bit more. It kind of just feels like bloatware to the game almost at that point. It's tactical, it's useful, but it's not mechanically significant specified towards the fighter. So I personally would like to see that be a bit more of a unique feature. But let's see.
Also, something that is true of all 7 classes is their 20th level features have returned to 20th level.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so are we getting rid of the ascendant boons of gods and whatever nonsense it was? Okay, here, let's pull through playtest packet 5 here. Okay, so we have arcane stuff. We're right now stuck in. Okay, you know what? 20th level. Bonus feat at 20th level. A DM can use bonus feats as a form of advancement after characters reach 20th level. Okay, that's not what I want. Okay. Prerequisite 20th level expert or mage group. You increase your dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1 to a maximum of 30. Blink steps. Okay, so this is the epic boon of dimensional travel that I was looking at here. So is that them saying that they're going to either move these epic boons down in level, or is it that they're going to be since they're reinstating 20th level for this playtest, are they going to be buffing it? Because there are some classes that have ridiculously overpowered and underpowered 20th level abilities. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that interplay, because they're trying to redo it with these boons.
We had been testing for a while the introduction of epic boon feats at 20th level in each class. Looking at the playtest feedback we've gotten since last year, there's interest in epic boon feats, but it's clear that people were not interested in them replacing their class's 20th level feature.
I 100% agree. Epic boons kind of feel like a 3rd edition sort of thing, where it's just a feat that you pick up at this level. It seems like this is what I want him to say next. We like the epic boon feat, and we like that idea, and so we're going to be pulling them back and reworking them into prestige classes, into an epic levels handbook, something that will take your game from 20th level to 25 or to 30. Having your characters become champions of the gods or whatever. I sincerely doubt that that's what we're going to get, because we're only talking about Player's Handbook Playtest Packet 6. But I think that would be a better way to advance a character beyond 20th level than just having epic boons as feats. Because, like the one I was just looking at there, I had the epic boon of dimensional travel. Immediately after you take the attack action or a magic action, you can teleport 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. So that's basically a free Misty Step, which is really cool, and I love that because I love Misty Step. But it's a +1 ability score increase. and then it's just essentially getting the wizard's 18th level ability for one spell that you can do automatically. And so this is just happens. I don't know. I mean, it's really cool. I really do like the nature of these feats, but I feel like what they're trying to use them for would be better suited with an epic levels handbook. Okay.
Now, they never actually technically replaced them because we had taken those 20th level features and moved them to 18th level. But really, the sentiment has been that people
20th level needs to be cool.
want their 20th level feature to be specific to their class.
Yep.
There's a note in the Unearthed Arcana that we will continue to explore epic boon feats, but we'll do that in a future Unearthed Arcana. And so now the focus is back on the 20th level features that each class gets. In some cases, those features are the same as they were in 2014, but then in other cases, we have introduced some brand new 20th level features.
Okay, good, because things like the Warlock's 20th reduced to 18th, but now bringing back to 20th, their feature from Playtest Packet 5, was it? Was complete and utter crap. So are you saying that you're completely looking over and redoing this, or are you what's the end game here? What's the goal? What's the plan? I know we're going to get to see it tomorrow with the release of the document, but hints, please let me siphon them from you for content.
The very first class in the list, the Bard, has a brand new 20th level feature.
Okay, so we're getting bards.
Words of Creation.
There were other changes as well. You've moved some things back.
Wait, Words of Creation. Are they is once again overanalyzing here, but is this maybe the death of the creation part? Like if they're gonna start putting stuff like that into, I don't know. I'm waffling on and yeah.
The subclass choice starts earlier.
Yes, as you and I chatted about in one of our previous videos, we have shifted the subclass progressions for all of the classes to match their 2014 progressions. It was a fun experiment
It was a fun experiment because it was a good idea.
See how it would work if every class proceeded through their subclass levels at the same time. But that exploration was causing some ripple effects that were then causing other problems in certain classes. And so now that we're in the refinement phase of this playtest process, we've returned to the tried and true subclass progressions from.
Okay, so I know I'm cutting him off here, but coming as a design perspective myself, having gone through and had these conversations as well, internally, of course, because I don't have friends to talk to it about. The whole thing, like the major argument I have against putting subclasses all on the same level is it feels like, okay, now once the party levels up, we all gain our subclass feature. We all gain a talent. We all gain a class feature. And then it's just this kind of repetitive cycle where we all gain things at the same time, delving into certain parts of the character's history, to their story, to their whatnot simultaneously. And I do like the idea of returning to class-specific levels, where you get your subclass feature at second level. You get your... Sorry, that shouldn't be said because I think they're still trying to keep them all at third level to start. You get your subclass feature at fourth level. This other character gets theirs at sixth, and another one at fifth, and another at fourth. And it helps to break up that sort of monotonous feeling where we all gain at X time this specific part of our class and our character's core discovery. But I think the way to solve that would be having parties have characters of multiple levels in them. So like you have a party that has a 5th level fighter, you have a party that has a 4th level warlock, and a 6th level paladin. Like it seems like an experience based system where you can have a gaming group at multiple different levels is much more of a solution to having rote class progression versus kind of scattershot um, progression similar to the 2014 book. One of the cool things that I worked through when I was when I was playing a 4th edition game with my friends back in college was that there was just one chart that handled all of your progression, and it was for every class. So you got this class feature at this level. You got access to this, and the other thing, and it was all very easy, very straightforward to use. And I can tell you right here and right now, having played games with those groups in 5th edition since, there are elements of that they liked. And I liked, because it made it really easy to just highlight one row of there and say, okay, you all gain a level. This is what you get. Go ahead and take a stab at the books and figure out what you get. I really like everyone progressing at the same time, getting similar things for the same level. And so that way, if you have a character who is of a higher level because you're running an experience based, then they can be like, oh, this is what I did for 6th level, and kind of tutor another player who might be new to the hobby, rather than say, oh, just always check your class table. It kind of feels like that's a bit of a soulless answer. It's a bit boring. Just I like the idea of having common progression. So okay, so this is just a cut in for when I do a little bit of editing to clean this section up. I had to rewind it a little bit just because AT&T decided to randomly disconnect my internet. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right back in. Sorry about that breakup.
In the playtest, with all classes getting their first subclass level at 3rd level. Good. That has actually been working well in the playtest, whereas the later level changes were not delivering the goods, basically. They were not increasing fun enough.
Okay, this is where I actually want to jump in and mention Kobold Press's Tales of the Valiant, who is not sponsoring this video, but I would love to work with them if they could ever get out to work with a newbie YouTube fan. Okay, but one of the things that I really like about what they've done with their playtest packets is that they put out levels 1 through 8, and then they had people respond to that, and then they released their big one with their Kickstarter where they revised that, and so we got to see a heavy, strong focus on early levels, because that's what matters and that's what most people play. I mean, occasionally you'll have a one-shot that is 10th level, that is 15th level, so players can get to experience what it's like to play at such a high level of the game, but the majority of gameplay takes place between 1st and I'd say probably 10th level. And so that's what really needs to be fleshed out and what really needs to be working smoothly. And it seems like they are missing... I don't want to say missing the point, but it seems like they are shooting at the wrong area right now, where they need to make sure that their early levels are solid foundationally, because I think there's still things that can be improved upon. And so right now they're working on clamoring around and working with the essentially 12 to 20 range. And while it's important to get that correct, when has WotC released an adventure that was specifically for only higher level play? I mean, seriously. It's almost like they've been ignoring this part of the D&D experience because they know it's not balanced from the 2014 book, and so 2024 is going to be a stab to correct that. But at the same time, most people, if they're playing your adventures, because your adventures are the part that you are describing this 2024 revision as being backwards compatible with, not necessarily all the subclasses, not necessarily all the other stuff, but with specific interest and pinpoint precision, they have said that they wanted this to be backwards compatible with your adventures library. Your adventures library is for early levels. You need to make sure you get that right first. The later levels you absolutely need to balance. We've seen blunder after blunder before, and a lot of the things that are in previous playtest packets, at least in my experience, and in reading through all of these Unearthed Arcanas for the 2024 revision, leaves a lot to be desired. So yes, it absolutely needs to be toned down. It needs to be fixed. But the issue with, like, but they need to get. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, before you go ahead and freak out about your 12 to 20 range, make sure you have your 1 to 10, your 1 to 12 as solid as can be. And then release those first bits as your playtest packet and say, please try and break our game. People are going to figure out it's D&D. There's like a million words in a packet, in a book as well. But they need to focus on making sure that the game is as foundationally strong as possible. And it seems like they're looking at the class as a cohesive unit instead of as multiple different parts that facilitate completely different levels of play. Like, they have their Adventurers League, they have Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 broken up into 5-level increments. That would be a great way to have approached this playtesting process from the start. This is what a Tier 1 adventurer looks like. This is what a Tier 2 adventurer looks like. Obviously, they didn't do that. They're just looking at the class as a Gestalt entity, and now I've spoken about it for a while in a 36-minute so far response video to a 5-minute an 8-minute YouTube video. So there's 3 minutes to go. Let's see what these guys still have to say.
To justify some of the ripple effects in the classes. And so we have found that by returning to the 2014 level progression, we've not only been able to ensure cleaner compatibility with subclasses that are already in print, but it's also...
So are you going to be backwards compatible with subclasses in print? I mean that as a serious question. Is a Twilight Domain cleric from the 2014 book, are you going to be able to take the Twilight Domain abilities and transpose them onto a cleric in the 2024 revision?
Opened up space for us to do some exciting new design. We'll talk a bit about that when we get to the rogue, for instance. Returning to the 2014 subclass level progression opened up space in the rogue's class table for us to create a brand new feature for the whole class called Cunning Strike.
Yes, this is what you need to do. Class identity. Make it so that the class has its own unique thing to do. I was under the impression that weapon mastery was a thing that is going to be exclusive. Well, not exclusive, because they did include it with the barbarian, but like it was going to be first and foremost and the forebear of the fighter class. Weapon mastery was going to be primarily a fighter thing, and a couple other classes can dip into it here and there. But hearing what he said there about the rogue getting a specific special new feature that helps to further identify and separate that class from everything else, that fills me with a bit of warmth and hope for the D&D brand, which quite frankly is still at a near zero because of the whole OGL thing. But you know, props where I can give it.
But we'll talk more about that when we get to the rogue.
Oh, thanks.
This might be like something apart from all this, but I feel like there's like more of a planar energy theme coming from all the subclasses a little bit. Like,
yeah, didn't you say in like that the 2014 the whole 5e thing, not in 2014, but that everything in 5e has been multiverse oriented when it absolutely has not. I think they're actually trying to lean into that so that they can say so with these 2024 rules revisions books, but
well, like the way the Shadow specifically references the Shadowfell. Obviously, the Gloomstalker always did as well, but like I just get more of a planar energy feel from some of the subclasses, or like more on theme.
So something that
on theme is important.
We're able to do as we revisit subclasses, as we knit together a revised version of the Player's Handbook, is inject a bit more of the game's broader setting into some of the flavor text. And that broader setting, of course, is the multiverse.
Is it, though? Like, Tales of the Valiant has the Labyrinth, which is essentially the multiverse as well. It's where you have all of your different homebrew worlds, and they kind of intermingle one way or another. I'm pretty sure the D&D canonical setting is not the multiverse; it's the Forgotten Realms. And not to bring back an old, dead thing, but 4th edition had things like the Spell Scar, so that they could have a continuing story. Like, once again, these guys are trying to tell within the Forgotten Realms. I mean, look at them hyping up their different books and such from that are going to be coming out in the next few years to justify the existence of the 2024 books, apparently. Once again, this is a bit of conjecture, but it seems like they have an adventure that's at least beginning with the Phandelver and Below Shattered Obelisk book to introduce us to the next era of D&D. That's specifically taking place in the Forgotten Realms. This is not taking place in the multiverse. The Feywild and Shadowfell are reflections of the Forgotten Realms. And so they are alternate planes, not alternate realities. They are not alternate timelines. The Upside Down in Stranger Things, while it is similar to something like the Shadowfell, it is specifically its own alternate reality. It is a reflection of... Okay, this... Does everything have to be multiverse? Does everything have to be multiverse? Like, stick with your guns and just say it's Forgotten Realms. And that's cool. If you can play D&D in any other setting. You can play it in Exandria. You can play it in Birthright. You can play it in all of these other... You can play it in Kryn. But those are campaign settings. And you can access them through the multiverse, but the Feywild is not the same in Exandria that it is in the Forgotten Realms. Same with the Shadowfell, to my knowledge. If I am wrong, please tweet at me, Matt Mercer. You will make my day. The setting for D&D is the Forgotten Realms. Please stop saying it's the multiverse.
And so, yeah, there intentionally are more nods to the game's macro setting than ever before. And that's why you will now see a mention of the Shadowfell where maybe you didn't before.
Right.
Or you'll see reference to the Feywild or the Nine Hells that wasn't in the previous version.
Okay. I'm sorry. Once again, it's bothering me. The multiverse is a concept that is a way to explore probability. It is saying that when I roll a die, when I roll a d20, there are 20 universes created that are all echoes and reflections of this one, where I rolled each number on that die. It's a Schrodinger's cat sort of scenario where all of those probabilities end when the die lands on a side and I get a 20, obviously. The multiverse is exploring what happens if I roll a 19, if I roll a 1, if I roll a 2, and what happens after that. That's not what the Nine Hells are. The Nine Hells is a specific special location that is from what I understand, an echo that shows up in every D&D that exists in every D&D setting, whether you go to it or not. It's where you get your fiends, it's where you get your devils, it's where you get your demons, I think. It is not I roll a d20 and on a 2 all of a sudden this universe is populated with ancient evil, Orcus is taken over the land, and all of a sudden blah blah blah. And so it bears looking at what D&D is fundamentally, because the first 5 levels essentially kind of are a survival game. You're going forth from your town, your village, your quest hub, etc., and you are fighting monsters. You are local heroes. After that, it kind of turns into planar nonsense. You kind of get into a Guardians of the Galaxy phase where you can start jumping between worlds and realms, and all of a sudden the threat that is plaguing the local village is expanding its presence and making itself an issue in your world. And so you start going to other lands, other realms, other places on the continent, and you start doing this sort of Indiana Jones travel where you have your big map and you have your red lines that go all around the world as you do this sort of thing. Except with D&D, you have magic, and so it's not just all around your world, it's all around the realm, all around the universe, all through the planes. But I think the only thing that's actually ever really tapped into an idea of the multiverse is the Echo Knight in Wildmount. You're drawing forth an image of yourself from another reality that fights alongside you. D&D has not been a multiverse, really up until that point, as far as I am concerned. Now, I'm sure someone will point to a book and prove me wrong, and I would love to read that book. That sounds fantastic. I want to read and I want to understand this game so much more. But once again, why does everything have to be the multiverse? It feels like a worn out concept that it just reeks of creative stagnation.
What was most exciting for this group of playtest, for Playtest 6?
We love taking feedback that people give us, analyzing it, then comparing it to our own playtest experience, and refining the design based on that. And this Unearthed Arcana is all about that process. UA6, top to bottom, was about us as we move into this refinement phase of the playtest, really digging into what brings people joy, what's working well in our internal playtests and in our development, in our balance passes, marrying all those things together to create versions of things that we hope will delight people for years to come. And of course, we're going to keep iterating over the next few months as this playtest continues. It was really exciting to feel like in this playtest, a lot of things really snapping into place. And you can see now the 2024 books starting to come into focus here in the playtest process.
Okay. You can see the... I mean, I can see the books fundamentally. Like, in the back of my mind, I can see what they all are. I'm not impressed. Okay. So, what did this video tell us? I mean, it told us that we are getting new spells. It told us that we're getting new subclasses. It told us that we're getting a new Unearthed Arcana playtest packet tomorrow. I'm going to be taking a stab at it, taking a look through it. I'm just frustrated with D&D as a brand right now. Still. And so while there are things in these Unearthed Arcana documents that I do like from a mechanical standpoint, I feel like Wizards of the Coast is just expecting us to move on, because like they ever since the OGL, they've really been, I mean, they've been showing their hand before that they don't really understand what the 5e economy and the 5e creator space and what players, I mean, they know what players like, but I don't know if they know what players want, if you know what I mean. And it just feels like that's continuing. I feel like these 2024 players handbook revisions were inevitable no matter what happened. And instead of trying to create the best edition of D&D with them, they're trying to maintain a profit line, make sure that their market value stays stable so that they can continue to position themselves with the 5e brand instead of, buckling down and just calling it what it is, and that they want to be making a 6th edition. I think we're at a position where D&D fundamentally should just transition to 6th edition and make that the best edition of D&D, because I think 5th edition is... the 5th edition kind of just feels stale. And they're not really positioning, and they're not really positioning themselves to explain why it doesn't feel stale anymore, or why we shouldn't feel it feels stale anymore, or why their changes are going to fix it. I feel like this video has gone on for long enough, so thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully I said something that sparked an idea that'll get you to write a comment and help the YouTube algorithm here. What do you all think about where D&D is now? What do you think about what's been said about Playtest Packet 6 and what's coming? Do you think that the D&D brand is strong today and worth looking into when something like Tales of the Valiant is going to be existing alongside this 2024 rules update and edition? When, I mean, there are going to be other games that come out that fill this exact same space, and for way too long the TTRPG community has been overlooking them. Wizards of the Coast did the best thing for independent creators when they completely alienated their fan base. Why do we need D&D if we have TTRPGs that are good, solid, and worth running? And does D&D as a brand deserve its position in this community anymore? Like, I mean, it's obviously going to exist no matter what we say and do, but it can't be the only fish in the game. And so what makes D&D special and unique and worthy of its corner of the market? That's the kind of thought that I'm trying to grapple with, and I'm fascinated to hear what you guys think in the comments. So I will be seeing you next time. Take care.